Hello, I'm Brendan,
And I'm Daniel,
and we are the Gatekeepers.
which means we're better than you. We're cinephiles. And therefore, you can trust our opinion.
This week we're talking about Cleopatra, the 1960s Elizabeth Taylor film. It was reportedly one of the most expensive movies of all time, and it's a pretty good movie. It's a historical epic.
I cannot wait to hear about it.
Didn't you watch it?
We'll get to that.
Daniel!
Okay, so, in my defense, it's 4 hours long.
It's 4 hours and 6 minutes.
My deepest apologies. In that case, I should have watched it.
The way you talk about Doctor Who and the hours you've dedicated to that.
Yes.
And you can't dedicate a mere 4 hours to Elizabeth Taylor.
Okay, here's the thing.
She wears gold in this movie. She dresses as Aphrodite herself.
Ooh. So, here's the thing, right? It's 4 hours long. I was busy. But what I care more about than the actual movie, which apparently is good according to you, is all the bullshit that happened behind the scenes.
I mean, we can get to that, but like, my pure review of this movie is it's good if you like 1960s camp.
Oh my God,
I
I've watched it.
If you like a lot of people turning to the middle distance to explain how they're feeling in that moment, then you will like this. And I liked it.
Excellent. I am excited to see it.
One day,
Eventually.
when I wretched strap you down and make you watch the whole 4 hours,
clockwork
including
orange me.
the credits.
Oh, you have to. There's probably a post-credit scene for how much they spent on this movie.
So do you just want to skip the review and go about the goss?
I mean, a little bit. But
Okay,
you have seen the movie, and you do like it.
I really like it. Like, this is, like, the guy that plays Caesar does a really great job of, like, pulling off the charisma and the pompousness of what the historical Caesar would have been like.
Oh, that's awesome. I love the fact that they put effort in, because the entire thing about this is that it bombed. It
didn't bomb. It made its money back.
Eventually.
In time, yes.
Give it a couple of decades.
Look, it took 5 years for this movie to make its money back fully.
That's awesome.
And like, this movie cost $31 million in the 1960s, early 1960s.
Which is like $300 million.
Oh,
So
in today's money.
Yeah, it's a lot, and this is also in a time when, like, I don't know, because, like,
The studio system started to show its cracks.
yeah, so around this time, we got stories of, like, studios having massive control over people, and then, like, it started to fail because you can't do that without everyone just quitting and being sad.
And also, a lot of those films weren't of the time, and people wanted new things. Because, like, you know, it was the 60s, man. The 50s were ages ago.
They were like 5 years ago.
Like, you can't
basically grandparents.
you can't expect Butterfield 7 to do well. Butterfield 8, that's a different story, but Butterfield 7.
That's when they introduced the shark. We're in a time between the, like, 1950s, it's post-war, everything's great, we're white and middle class.
And the
It's basically
1970s grunge house indie control.
Yeah, so we're in
Period.
between that. So what happened in the 60s to make this movie a
So
thing?
the studios were like, well, we have to compete with television because we have to get people out of their house. So they were like, we'll do big historical epics and we'll spend a lot of money on them. And this was probably the penultimate big budget movie that they made, because it was the most expensive movie for quite a bit.
I think Pirates of the Caribbean topped it.
Which one?
Dead men tell no tales?
Okay, I'll have to take your word for it.
Sure, one of them. In fact, no, it was that one. That one, definitely. Definitely not going to correct it and then put the correction here.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. That
Allegedly.
much. So, Elizabeth Taylor almost died 4 times making this movie while she was in England. Because they shot this originally, they were going to shoot this originally in England because tax credits. But then all the plaster work that they used to make the outdoor Egypt, England's famous for its rain, right?
Right. So if it's notably famous for the rain and you want to save money, perhaps build it inside.
Yeah, they didn't do that. All the plaster work actually kept on crumbling, and they had to keep on redoing it, which posted a lot of filming. Elizabeth Taylor, she was never well while she was in England, meaning they could never get her to really film anything. So they just, like, for a good 6 months, they just shot around her. And they literally shot, I think, pretty much.
You had your actress not being able to act.
They shot everything that they could that wasn't her scene.
Incredible.
And this was with, I think, the first director.
How many directors were there?
I think there was 2.
Okay, good.
There was 2 directors, one for the British shoot and one for the Italian shoot. Yes, Elizabeth Taylor, she almost died, and then she went back to America to recover, the poor darling, and won an Oscar in the meantime.
Of course, not for this.
Not for this, for Battlefield 8.
Right.
And then and then they were like, well, screw it, we'll go film this in Rome. And they went to Rome and they filmed it.
Okay, so this is set in Egypt.
For them, actually, probably the first third is set in Rome.
Okay, so we actually do have scenes in Rome, and then we're like, wait a minute, let's just go to Rome and film there. They still have old buildings. It'll probably be cheaper.
They actually built the Roman Forum, the famous Roman Forum, but the Roman Forum wasn't big enough. So what they did was they built it 3 times the size.
Why?
Because all the cool, big, epic things that Rome is known for building hadn't been built yet. So they were like, we're going to build the Roman Forum. It's a bit small, the real one. And it's all kind of ruins at this point. So we'll just build our own, but bigger.
We're in Rome. Let's build another Rome slightly to the left.
And then there's a scene where Cleopatra makes her way into Rome for the first time. And it's a grand procession. They had to shoot that twice.
Why?
With all these dances and all these unique performers and all these, like, thousands of extras.
Thousands of extras. We gotta go slightly to the left. We gotta film it again.
Like, they're not gonna shoot in ruins.
No, of course not. But at the same time,
3 times the size.
3 times the size.
And then, like, there's, like...
And probably made of actual stone.
No, I think majority of it was made out of plaster.
Okay, good.
But they did...
They're fools, they're not idiots.
They did use real gold leaf for, like, real props. And for...
Was this in color?
Yes.
Do you think that, given that it's the 1960s, they would have noticed if it was paint?
Look, I don't know what the 1960s paint technology was like, but we can only presume that they could have probably gotten away with it. Because Elizabeth Taylor, she wears an outfit that is meant to make her look like Isis, and it is pure gold. It is just gold and gold and gold and gold.
And gold?
And gold.
It
is like,
was it made from actual gold?
Yes, it was gold. It was gold thread. The entire thing was gold thread, and she only wears it twice in this entire movie.
And it probably cost like $2 million.
Oh, I don't want to say how much it cost. 1960s gold valuation and all that.
But like too much. Arguably, you could get away with not having it. The actual gold.
Look, it's amazing. Like, the sheer size and the sheer epicness of this movie is, I say it's all worth it.
I mean, it is
Like-
it is for like us if we're gonna watch it. But like the studio lost all the money and it's hilarious. Because fuck those guys.
Yes, allegedly towards the end, when they were editing this movie, Fox cancelled everything else while making this. So the editors and the director were the only people on the Fox studio while editing this movie
God.
because Fox had no more money.
We got the budget for this movie and nothing else.
Allegedly, like when they when this movie was coming to theaters and like it was just about to be released, they put up this big poster of Elizabeth Taylor and the guy that was playing Mark Antony. A lawyer went through the contracts, like, oh no, the guy that plays Caesar, he put it in his contract that for the other love interest, he has to have equal billing and spacing on all advertisement. So they, after putting up this big billboard in New York of just Elizabeth Taylor and Mark Antony, they had to rush up and paint this guy onto the billboard. It's like the waste of money, like days on this shoot, they would like spend like hundreds of extras would just sit around and do nothing, and like just being waited to be called to set.
And you just never did because there's too many of them?
That would never happen because they would use everyone when they got to those big scenes. Like, there's probably the big scenes are like in Alexandria market, in the Roman Forum, and when Mark Antony was like charging at Octavian's army, because like hundreds of horses, hundreds of people, if not thousands. It like the epic level of like this, like we needed these people to actually be here. Like this isn't done anymore. It's all CGI now or miniatures.
With all of this excess and all of this like thing, this could bankrupt a studio. How did they not go bankrupt?
Luck, and the actual founder of Fox, 20th Century Fox, he released a World War II movie around that same time, and that movie made bank.
Okay, so like we covered our asses by making another movie.
Yeah.
To cover the fact that we lost so much money on this one.
Yeah, and he was really pissed off about that. He wanted an extra $1 million to make that movie. And he went to the studio executive at the time, and he said, the studio executive said, no, I can't. I'm sorry. There is no more money. And he was like,
we used all the
how
gold.
is there no more money? He's like, and he said, Cleopatra, it's going to be epic.
It's like those when like Disney puts all their eggs into like Pocahontas, and then like Lion King is made by the B team.
I forget that happened.
Yeah.
This movie ruined careers and marriages because Elizabeth Taylor, she actually had an affair. She had 2 affairs while making this movie.
I mean,
she had an affair, her first affair with Eddie Fisher, famously Carrie Fisher's dad.
right.
And then she had an affair with the guy that played Mark Antony, I think Colin something. He was an Irish actor, and his wife divorced him while making this movie.
Awesome.
Yeah, and like she's like Elizabeth Taylor's like public persona went from being like, this beloved, glamorous person to being the harlot that would steal Eddie Fisher, to back to oh my God, she almost died on Cleopatra. Did you hear? She had a trichinometry. Like they cut open her throat. Didn't you see when she won her Oscar? Oh my word! And then back to being the harlot, the home wrecker.
It's the 1960s.
It's the 1960s,
We've gotta
baby.
blame all the women for all the bullshit that we do.
Oh, no, like in the U.S. Congress, because she had dual citizenship, like they were like, we should strip her of her citizenship, we should strip her of her children, we should not let her back in the country, like that kind of 1960s.
Well, the past was the worst.
I don't think strip her of her citizenship when I say it, but I think like they wanted to like ban her from entering the country and like take her children from her.
That's a bit much.
Yes.
They didn't.
No, they didn't in the end, but like that was like talk on the Congress floor. So like when people these days say like they talk nothing but crazy stuff on the Congress floor.
They always have. Somehow, our conversation about movies always goes back to some sort of politics.
I mean,
So what was the like fallout for everyone? Who lost their careers? Was it most of them?
no one really, it was the 1960s, baby, so like everyone was in the studio system. But like it set people back and it kind of ruined Elizabeth Taylor's career and her, like people looking to her as that elegance, like feminine symbol. Because like all the controversy that having two men out of their wedding,
Out of wedlock?
out of wedlock. Yeah, like that didn't help her career in the long haul, I'm sure. Yeah, like my recommendation, if you've got 4 hours and you love camp and you love Elizabeth Taylor,
Which you've seen miniseries, you do.
like you've seen The Nanny, that one episode of The Nanny she's on.
Of course she's in the nanny. It's that kind of camp.
You'll like this. It's long, it's epic, it's big, it's grand, it's the 1960s studio system crumbling around them, and they just need to spend a few more mil to make it work this time. Ben-Hur almost made its budget back. Next week we will be doing Ben-Hur.
You want to do Ben-Hur?
We have been the.
We're the gatekeepers.
I've been Brendan.
It's been a massive success. It always has been. I do want to watch it now. You pitch it really well. I'm going to go watch it and then we'll never talk about it again. Or we'll talk about it for like 7 episodes.
Thank you very much.
Goodbye.